Admissions and Communications Coordinator here at the Alzar School. And today I'm excited to have Ella, a recent Alzar alum, here today to speak about her experience spending a semester with us. So Ella, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ella. I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina. I go to Myers Park High School, and I attended spring semester in 2024.
Awesome. Thanks, Ella. That's a great picture of you guys, by the way, at your end of semester celebration.
Yes.
So just jumping right in, so here at Alzar, we offer both a GAP program for students after their high school career and then a semester program for sophomores and juniors in high school. Today, which we're going to be discussing the semester program, and Ella was a sophomore when she came. So Alzar School's mission is to build leaders that positively impact the world, and Alzar achieves this through three major lenses. We offer all of the typical math, science, history, and English classes at an honors or AP level, and this ensures that students can transition back to their home schools smoothly after their time with us. During their semester, students engage in amazing outdoor adventures like whitewater kayaking and backpacking throughout their time here. It is important to note, though, that we don't require students have any prior kayaking or backpacking experience before they join us. And last but certainly not least, students spend almost half of their program living and learning in Patagonia, Chile. We find that this cultural immersion piece ends up being an incredible opportunity for students to see a whole new way of life away from home, as well as develop their language skills. It's a really cool opportunity. So diving right into students' time in Chile. So this is an aerial shot of our campus, Base Patagonia, which is about 40 minutes outside of the town of Coyhaique. Students and faculty fly down together and spend about 7 weeks in Chile. So you can see we're lakefront. It's a gorgeous campus, and that's where students will learn those foundational kayak skills, spend time on our brand new dock. It's a really cool spot. And a little bit more about Base Patagonia. So students spend 3 weeks at Base before going out on these outdoor expeditions. Campus doesn't have Wi-Fi, so it is a pretty unplugged experience, but it's a time where students get to know each other, complete their coursework, and dive into Chilean culture. Ella, can you talk a little bit about your experience starting out at Base?
Yeah, so I absolutely loved the Chile campus. I loved spending time there. It was honestly such a unique experience for me because I had never been to South America before, but everyone was so welcoming and friendly. And I was really concerned about my Spanish speaking skills because I've taken Spanish for I taken it for about 2 years before I went to Chile, but it's just such a different experience, you know. Just like actually speaking with people rather than just like learning in a classroom. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, and so it was pretty nerve wracking, but everyone there was so welcoming, and I learned so much Spanish just from like interacting with the people there, and it was just an amazing experience.
Awesome. And so also diving into kind of a little bit more about life on Base. So you guys live in refugios with up to 3 other students and cook your own breakfast and lunch in quinchos during your time on Base. Could you talk a little bit about that experience living in the refugios without Wi-Fi and cooking with a group?
Yes. So I lived in a refugio with 3 other girls. They were such amazing people. I love them so much. We became so close throughout our time there. And I absolutely loved cooking in the quincho. We It wasn't just a place that we cooked in. We spent so much time in there, just like doing our homework or during our free periods. Once we got into Ridgeline, which is one of the stages that we go through, we spent a lot of time there. And I just really enjoyed spending time in both of those places. Like our refugio was just at the top of this mountain, beautiful scenery, so pretty, and it was amazing.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's a super cool experience. And I know that sometimes cooking as a group can be kind of challenging. So these are a few photos from our students exploring the town of Coyhaique and practicing their Spanish with locals. They also have the challenge of grocery shopping together in Coyhaique. Did you guys run into any challenges while trying to figure out what you wanted to cook as a group, trying to get on a schedule, anything like that?
Yeah, so when we first were starting out, um, with our food prep and food planning, we didn't really know each other as that well. Like we were just starting to get to know everyone. So like we didn't know what our food preferences were, and we definitely had a hard time just like trying to figure out what we were going to eat and the new foods in Chile. Like um thing like the milk is packaged in these like cardboard boxes that sit on the shelves
Mhm.
so we can find milk, and it was, I mean, all the food was delicious. It just took us a second to figure it out. But it was great because we were able to get to learn more about each other, and by the end we really had it down. Like um me and my friend Malia, we usually like to sleep in more. So um my other two roommates, Margot and Allison, would cook us breakfast and then we would make them lunch once we woke up. So it was just like we got a really good system going, and it was always so much fun to food shop with everyone and go into Coyhaique. That was on it, like honestly some of my favorite memories from Chile are times that we spent going into town and meeting all of the people there and getting our food for the week.
That's awesome. And did you get to like practice your Spanish with locals, anything like that?
Yes, it was really amazing, and all the people so understanding. Like one of the things that I learned throughout my time in Chile and practicing with all these people is that you definitely don't have to be perfect with all your Spanish.
Right.
Like you don't have to have the most like perfect grammar,
Mhm.
and like the classes will teach you how to do that, but they're so friendly and they'll get the gist of whatever you're trying to say and always be willing to help you with whatever.
Absolutely. They want to speak to you and they want you to practice. And I know there were probably a few students in your cohort who had never taken a Spanish class before. So there's definitely varying levels of experience with that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So each semester, students ultimately engage in the same activities, but the order in which they do so is a little different. So the fall semester begins at our Idaho campus, and then they transition down to Chile in October and then have their end of semester graduation there, whereas the spring's a little bit different. So Ella was a spring student. So the spring starts in the airport, actually. Ella, did you guys start in the Atlanta airport?
Yes, we did.
Awesome. So students will meet together in the airport, which is a kind of a cool experience, and then fly down, faculty and students to Base, Patagonia, and then they'll transition back up to Idaho in March, and then have their end of semester graduation ceremony back in the States. So kind of separate trips, but very similar activities. So speaking of our Idaho campus, we have about 400 acres with 2 miles of riverfront access. Students live in yurts with up to 6 other students, so they're slightly bigger groups than in the refugios. And the yurts are fully equipped with bathrooms and Wi-Fi, so students are a little bit more plugged in here than in Patagonia. Ella, could you talk a little bit about your experience living in a yurt?
Yes. So I lived in a yurt with 5 other girls, which was awesome. It was the second half of the semester, so we already got to know each other pretty well. So it
Mhm.
was super comfortable. Um, the yurt is just such a cool space to live in. Um, Living in a refugio and living in a yurt are just two totally different experiences. Like, um, because the yurt is more like it's so cool. Like I've never stepped in a building like it
Right.
before. And then the refugio is just like this cute little cabin posted at the top. And I slept in like the middle bunk. So I got to see all of my friends um whenever we were just hanging out up there. And then also they have these really cool skylights in the yurt. So at night you can look up and see the
Mhm.
stars, and it's just so cool and just really beautiful space to live.
Absolutely. It's a cool experience and it's a little bit of a larger group. So I think you have to kind of get used to sharing that space. Everybody does have their own bunk and desk and storage space, but ultimately you are sharing a space and kind of figuring out how to do that. So I know a unique part of living in a yurt is learning to keep the wood burning stove going when it's a little bit chillier. And students tend to kind of delegate that task a little bit differently. Did you guys have a system for that? Did one person manage the fire, or did you guys kind of split that responsibility?
Yeah, so I am a very outdoorsy person. I have always been into camping, and
Mhm.
even before Alza, that was part of the reason why I decided to come to the semester because I love everything to do with the outdoors. So I was mainly the person that did that at the beginning, but a lot of the girls were very interested in learning how to build a fire, so I taught them, and by the end of it, it wasn't just me making the fires, it was everyone, and we were all working together doing it, which was really fun.
That's awesome that you were able to lend a hand in teaching that. That's a really cool skill. That's
Yeah.
awesome. And just to note, there is a heater that kind of kicks on if it does get too cold. So it is a learning experience for students to make sure we keep that going, but there's a little bit of a safety net there. Uh,
Yes.
Awesome. And Ella, so we have a few main buildings on campus other than yours. So students take their academic classes in the Confluence building. There's also the Headwater building and the barn. Do you want to just walk us through kind of briefly each building and how you spent your time there?
Yeah, so the Confluence building is just it's an amazing building. It's so beautiful. We eat all of our meals in there, and then they have a bunch of different classrooms that you go to. I mainly had classrooms in the Snowbank classroom, which is one of the main ones when you first walk in. It has this beautiful, kind of like a barn door,
Mhm.
and they have all these desks and huge library in there with all these different books. I checked out so many books when I was at Alzar
That's
to
awesome.
read there. And they have art supplies there in that classroom, and then just a bunch of in all the other classrooms they have the same things, just beautiful spaces, lots of windows, lots of light. And then in the Headwaters building, that's where I had the majority of my classes. There's like one main room that you have all of your classes in, and usually I um, spent most of my time in that building. And then there's also just different offices around there where if you have tests and stuff, you can like AP exams at the end of the year. I had my AP exams proctored in there. And then the barn, which we spent a lot of time in there, they have a huge cool bouldering wall, which was so awesome. A rowing machine, just couches where everyone could hang out. And then that's also where all the kayaks are stored. And it's just such a cool building. We love spending time there.
The barn is definitely a fun spot. Yeah, it's great because you guys kind of have multiple spaces where you can recreate and then where also you can cozy up and study. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
there's definitely a few buildings other than the yurts, so you guys more base out of that. So moving on to academics. So we do offer all the traditional math, science, history, and English classes taken by 10th and 11th grade students with the option of taking AP exams during the spring semester, which Ellie, you mentioned you did that. I'm assuming you probably only had an exam with how many other students in the room with you, one or two?
So I actually took an online class when I was there. So I was the only person taking my AP exams. I took the AP pre-calc exam, then I take an AP psych exam. And
Okay.
so I was the only person in my who was proctoring my AP exam. Like I was by myself, but most of my other friends who took AP classes, they only had like one or two other people in the rooms with them while they were taking their AP
Okay.
exams.
Yeah, it's definitely a different experience than sitting in a large room of students, like you would back at your sending school. So it's kind of cool. It's very hands-on. Um,
Yeah.
and because of our time in Chile, everybody does take a Spanish class. But of course, we don't require any Spanish experience before attending Alzar. Um, Ella, could you kind of talk a little bit about your studies while here? Was anything particularly challenging for you coming in? I know sometimes that's an interesting transition coming from your sending school to here.
Yeah. So my sitting school had a very different class setup than
Mhm.
what Alzar had. Um, my sitting school it was just totally different than like any other school that I've ever heard of. But Alzar was so accommodating and it helped me figure out my class schedule, and I was able to get all the classes I needed to take. I took a math class, a history class, a Spanish class, and then I had several classes that I took online, and then also a PE class, and then of course the capstone leadership class as well.
Awesome.
And it was like all of my teachers so amazing. I think the hardest class for me was probably Spanish because I hadn't had that much experience before, but I loved my teacher. She was amazing. And I learned so much from her, and I think I'm fully prepared to go back to um, my sitting school and be in the next level of classes and all of the courses that I took while I was at Alzar.
That's awesome. You're going to do great. I know your high school's a big school, so I'm sure it was nice to kind of have some one-on-one
Yes.
interactions with teachers here. I know it's really nice. Um,
Yeah.
and you touched on the capstone leadership course. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. So during this course, it was unlike anything that I've ever taken before. We focused on like the 10 elements of leadership that Alzar offers. It's just this list that we focus on a lot while we're at Alzar about improving our leadership skills and figuring out our leadership style. We did that in that class. And then one of the main things that we did was work on our CLP, which stands for Culminating Leadership Project, which is a project that you do outside of Alzar. And that was also a really great experience. My teacher was a great mentor for me during that process and helped me figure out what I wanted to do and what goals were, you know, stuff that I could meet and what I should amend about my project. And it was just a really great experience. I love taking that class. We had great discussions. It was very hands-on, and I enjoyed it a lot.
That's certainly a class that I wish I would have taken as a high school student. It's an awesome experience. And I know it sounds like a lot of students kind of take that with them when they go back to their high school at home. So it's
Yeah.
just a really cool experience. So a majority of our classes are kept very small here at Alzar, and it kind of enables students to be able to ask their teachers questions, to be able to take the initiative to use their office hours, things like that. And it's also a great opportunity for students to be able to dive into classwork on and off campus. So when it comes to experiential learning, teachers will hold lessons on expeditions, things like that, or at least outside on campus. So this photo on the left was taken while students were studying the health of a stream on a river expedition. Ella, did you have any memorable classes that stand out to you, either outside on campus or on expedition?
Yeah, so whenever we were on campus and it was a beautiful day outside, all of my teachers would always be like, let's go take this class outside. Let's do this outside. Let's go have an experience. And, whenever the opportunity was that we could be in the beautiful space that we are able to have it at the Chile or Idaho campuses, we always spend a lot of time outside. And then the expedition lessons were really interesting. I remember one pretty vividly. It was an English lesson that we were doing with one of my teachers, and it was raining outside on expedition, but it was so much fun, and we got to hike around and we got to journal, and it was just a really fun experience where we got to have a discussion together, and it was really great. Yeah.
That's really cool. That's awesome. And I know, kind of aside from having your small class groups, from having your yurt group, your refugio and quincho group, you're also paired up with a mentor during your time here at Alzar. And that creates a mentor family because it's the student, faculty mentor, and then a few other mentees. Could you talk a little bit about that experience?
Yeah, so I was partnered up with my Spanish teacher, Gabriella, and she was amazing, super supportive. She was able to answer all of my questions that I had while I was at Alzar. We had mentor meetings every week, and we would just sit down and talk about my experience, and things that I needed to work on in all my classes. And, um, if I was struggling with anything, she would always be there to help. And um, it was just a great resource because I never had a mentor like that who was also my teacher.
Right.
And so it was so helpful for me, especially during those first couple weeks at Alzar when I didn't really know anyone and I didn't know what different rules there were and what we were supposed to be doing. She was always there to help. And that was just a really great thing.
Yeah, the faculty mentor, it's awesome because you spend all this time with your teachers in the classroom and then they go into the backcountry with you. So I think it really enables that close relationship to take place and you're able to ask them questions. I definitely wish I would have been a little more comfortable with my teachers in high school. It certainly helps to be hands-on with that academic piece. So that's awesome. So everybody's favorite part. A big part of what we do here at Alzar is going on both river and backpacking expeditions throughout the semester, both in Chile and in and around Idaho. While in Patagonia, students engage in a week of backpacking in Parque Patagonia and a week of paddling on the Rio Baker. It's an awesome trip. People get to try out different kayaking mechanisms. So we have hard shell kayaks, but we also have inflatable kayaks, which are a little bit more approachable for students, just kind of depending the section that they're paddling, things like that. Do you have a favorite memory from expeditions that stand out?
Yes. So I absolutely loved both the Rio Bacher and the expedition in Parque Patagonia. I especially loved those two expedition blocks because it was just so beautiful and unlike anything I'd ever seen before when I was backpacking. I got really close with all the people that I was with, and one of my favorite memories, I think, was from the backpacking portion. We got to spend a lot of time together because we were very efficient during our hiking days. So we got all of those miles out pretty fast. And one time we were camping on the side of this beautiful river when we were backpacking. And all of the people in my group, we just decided to take a little walk down the river and spend some time together and watch the sunset. And that was just so much fun. We had the best time together.
That's awesome. And the expedition portion of the semester is really where we see those leadership skills develop in students, especially when it comes to each student taking on the leader of the day role. Could you tell us a little bit about your experience being LOD?
Yes. So when I was the leader of the day on both of the backpacking sections, I
Mhm.
believe, I don't think I ever, oh, actually, I don't know. Maybe. I can't really remember.
That's
But
okay.
I think I think I was the leader of the day during actually the river part of when we were in Patagonia,
Okay.
which was something that was actually pretty difficult for me because I had never, kayaked before coming to Alzar. That was such a new experience for me. I was kind of nervous about that coming in, but it ended up being one of my favorite parts of the semester. And I was able to work with all of my other LODs who, had a little bit more experience than I did.
Right.
And then also, I was a leader of the day during the backpacking portion when we were in Idaho, um, in the Oahes, which was so amazing. Like I absolutely loved that experience. It was so cool. The Oahes are just such a beautiful place, and being leader of the day there was definitely pretty challenging for me because um, we did lots of orienteering, and I that was definitely something that I had experience with
Mhm.
outside of Alzar. And some of my other peers hadn't. So it was fun for me to be able to be a leader and help out with that, and also to teach other people. But that was just such a cool experience, and it was beautiful in all of the places that we had expeditions. Some of
That
my favorite memories are.
Yeah, there are definitely many awesome expeditions that we go on. And it's great that you kind of could take the portions that you came with knowledge beforehand on and could kind of teach that to other students and vice versa. Like you said, you hadn't had experienced whitewater kayaking, which many students don't. So it's just an awesome skill to learn. And it is important to note that we do have students who have never experienced whitewater before or have never slept in a tent. So when students begin at either Basse or at our Idaho campus, they do acquire these skills through kayaking clinics, learning how to cook on a stove, setting up tents, things like that. So there's definitely some varying experience levels coming in. So Ella, Alvar is a big experience, spending a whole semester living and learning and traveling with your cohort, what was the transition back home like for you? I know you haven't started back up yet for your fall semester, but just take us through what it's been like so far.
Yeah, so I think it was definitely easier for me than it was for some of the people because I went straight into summer. I didn't have to
Mhm.
go back to school, which was really nice. We had some Chilean students who had to go right back into school from our semester, and I think it was harder for them. But um, I've been able to spend a lot of time talking with the other people from my semester, which has been fun. I have one friend that lives in Charlotte, so I'll get to see her
That's
pretty
awesome.
often. Um, and you know, Alzar was super supportive with all of us. They've been great to their alumni, and just have I've had a relatively easy transition back into normal life. I think
Awesome.
um, they prepared us pretty well for that. And we talked a lot about what our life is going to be like when we came back while we were, at the end of the semester. So I think it's been hard, but um, I would do it all over again if I could.
And I know you mentioned that you have another student in Charlotte with you, which is awesome. Have you guys been able to do any other Alzar reunions yet, or are you planning any kind of cohort mini
Yes,
reunions
we're
next
definitely,
year?
yeah, I've been so busy this summer, so I haven't really gotten to spend as much time with any of the people from Alzar. One of my really close friends from Alzar, she's probably one of the people that I got closest with while I was at the semester. She lives in Israel, so far away.
Wow.
But I've been able to keep up with her a lot, as well as every other semester. We all have a big group chat together, and so we talk like every single day, and we've really all been able to maintain such a great friendship
That's
even after the semester ended.
Yeah, we see that a lot where students go home, and even if they're on different coasts, they find a way to see each other and meet up, even if it's once a year. And that usually lasts for a long time after you're out of high school, which is a really cool experience to kind of have friends all over the country and all over the world. Um, so, lastly, why did you choose Alzar? There's lots of semester schools out there, lots of different ways to spend your time in high school. So, what drew you to the program?
Alzar had everything that I wanted to do with a semester program. I absolutely love the outdoors and just the opportunity to be able to go backpacking for such an extended period of time during the school year, which was such an amazing opportunity that I couldn't pass up on. And then also just the opportunity to learn something new. Um, with the whitewater experiences that were offered at Alzar, and then also just the small community. My high school is so big, and that's something that I struggled with right
Yeah,
before I left. And I just loved that Alzar was so small, and you got to know everyone really well. You knew all the students, you knew all the teachers very well. You could have a conversation with anyone. Um, and that was just something that I really wanted to have with my high school experience. And Alzar just checked all the boxes for those things.
that's awesome. And it really is. It's because it's a small cohort. You've developed such tight knit friendships, um, individually, but also as a whole community afterward. So it's just awesome to keep in touch with that cohort afterward. Um, and to just cover some logistical pieces. So this is our admissions team, myself and Jamie, our director of admissions. We are accepting applications for our spring 2025 semester currently, and we'll be launching the fall and spring 25 and 26 application very soon. The process includes a written application as well as an interview with myself or Jamie, um, as well as recommendations. But please don't hesitate to reach out with any questions regarding life at Alzar, the application process, academics, anything like that. We're here to support you in any way that we can. And to close this out, I do have a couple of frequently asked questions for Ella. Let me go ahead and stop screen sharing. Okay, awesome. So Ella, I know we've sent out a packing list before your time at Alzar, but is there any kind of advice you have for students packing for a trip?
So all of the staff there packing for expeditions were super helpful. They got us everything that we needed to have. I think just one of the main things is that you should stick to the packing list that Alzar gives you. You should try to get everything that they have on the list, and just try not to overpack. I know like 4 months is a long time to be away, but I honestly felt like at the end I had so much stuff that I didn't necessarily use as much. So just like stick to the packing list, and then also just to um, try to pack in the 2 duffel bags that they tell you to pack in.
Right.
Uh, that's like you have a lot of stuff that Alzar gives you too when you're traveling from either when we were traveling from Chile to Idaho, they gave us a bunch of extra stuff to put in our packs, and I'm sure it's the same going down from Idaho to Chile. So just try to not overpack. That's the main thing, and just to stick to the packing list.
That's great advice. And yeah, Alzar faculty and staff are here to answer any kind of packing questions. You can shoot us an email anytime, and we'd be happy to answer that or talk on the phone. And then how was it staying in touch with your family for you when you did have your cell phone? How did that work?
Yeah, so when we were in Idaho, I think that was when we first got our phones back. And so I had a lot of free periods. I could call them whenever I needed to. Um, and I was able to update them relatively quickly about whatever was going on at Alzar. They had a family weekend. My parents came up for that. So it was great to be able to talk to them. And it was awesome that they were there for graduation too. And then when we were in Chile, it was a little bit more difficult, but we still definitely had time to talk to our families. We had an allotted block once a week that we could call them or call our friends or text them, and that was really great because I felt like I was always in touch with my parents when I was at Alzar, and I got to talk to them frequently about my life there and what was going on.
Awesome. And I know on the flip side of that, it can be kind of challenging in the beginning to come in and be unplugged. Was that difficult at all for you in the beginning of your time at Base?
Honestly, not really. Like no one was complaining or really wanted their phone back. Like we were all just so excited to be there and spend time getting to know each other. Mm-hmm. I honestly like forgot I even had a phone sometimes when I was at Alzar. I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm having so much fun doing these things and meeting all these people. And I think part of the reason why I enjoyed the time in Chile so much is because we didn't have our phones. We were able to talk so much and connect with each other, which was amazing.
That's awesome. Yeah, it is really cool it's a unique experience to be able to be without your phone, especially as a teenager, I think. And it's just awesome to be able to talk to students all the time. That's what you have to do. So it's a good time to be unplugged. And then lastly, did anything surprise you?
I think what really surprised me about Alzar was, how much the experience was so like, I don't know how to word this, but it was just like so perfect. Like everything was amazing. Like everyone was so supportive of me while I was there. Like I thought that, I would make some friends and like we would be in groups, but everyone was friends with each other, which was something that I was really surprised and excited about because it was kind of like by the end, we were all just one really big family of people, and I miss them so much, and I miss my time there, and it was just that I think that was one of the main things that really surprised me.
Yeah, it's definitely a transformative semester for every student that comes through. So, and that's great that you have a student that lives with you. That's awesome that you can see. So I'm sure that helps ease the pain of leaving a little bit.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, I think that covers it all. Ella, unless there's anything else you want to speak on.
No, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being here today. We appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
All right, awesome. Have a good day, Ella.
You too. Bye.
Bye.